Hello. The 2025 Pirates season is mercifully over, and so I figured I would give a little season wrap-up, as I sometimes try to do at the end of a Pirates season. Just for a recap, before the season, I predicted they would go 78 and 84, which would have been a two-game improvement on their record from each of the last 2 years. That record was based on the idea that Ben Cherington did jack shit over the offseason to improve the team's offense, which was the glaring need that was needed. I thought they would finish practically the same record they had before. And it turns out my prediction was too optimistic. Their offense was so bad, despite their pitching being pretty good, that they actually regressed. They finished with a 71 and 91 record, a 5-game decrease in wins from their previous couple of seasons. So let's take a look at how we got to that. First of all, I think it goes up, well, let's just say it for the record. Ben Cherington should be fired. The guy's been here 6 years, and they haven't made any meaningful steps towards being a playoff team. The last 3 years, they've gone 76 and 86, 76 and 86, 71 and 91. That's half of his tenure. Half of his tenure, they've been stuck in neutral, if not going in reverse. You've got Paul Skeens, a guy who finished with a 1.97 ERA and might win the Cy Young. I think he should, but he went 10 and 10 because the team gave him no offense, and that would be the one strike against him. Any old school people that care about win-loss record for a pitcher might hold that against him. If he was on a team that actually gave a shit about improving their offense, he would have 20 wins. So yeah, and you look at the rest of their pitching staff, they had decent performances from a lot of their pitchers. Stats I'm going to use, the last game of the season just ended today, so any stats are coming into the last day of the season. But for a lot of these pitchers, that's relevant because they didn't pitch today. But yeah, I mean, you look at the pitching staff, it was a lot of good numbers. Mitch Keller finished with a 4.19 ERA, but a 6 and 15 record. I think winning the loss record doesn't really matter for pitchers anymore, but I think for this team it is kind of instructive when you have these terrible records for pitchers that have a decent ERA and a decent whip and other stats. I think it illustrates just how crappy the offense is, because that tells you, oh, that Mitch Keller had an above average, or at least average, season, but had a terrible record because every time he'd go out, pitch a quality start, but the offense would score 1 or 2 runs, and then he'd get a loss, which wasn't really his fault. You had a bounce back year for the first 3 quarters of the Pirates season from David Bednar before he got traded at the deadline for nothing. He had 17 saves and a 2.37 ERA after having a back and forth 2024. Your other starting pitchers, Bailey Falter, had pitched well before he was traded at the deadline. I didn't like that trade. Granted, Falter hasn't done much since he got traded, but still, he had a 3.73 ERA for the Pirates. Mike Burris had 19 starts, 3.94 ERA. Like, their pitching was good. They had 3.76 ERA as a team. That's a good ERA. You have a 3.76 ERA as a team, you shouldn't lose 91 games. But you do, because their offense was absolutely terrible. Not only, and they had a bad offense in 2024, and so that's why going into the offseason, the obvious solution is make the offense better. Make the offense better to complement the good pitching staff. And what did Ben Cherington do? He added 3 major offensive pieces. One was Adam Frazier, a guy who hadn't been good since the last time he was in the Pirates, 4 years prior. And the guy was Tommy Pham, a guy who played for 8 teams in the previous 4 years. And the third guy was Spencer Horwitz, a guy who had a chronic wrist injury. And then who, we didn't know that he had that chronic wrist injury when he was traded, but we did find out when he re-injured it right before the season. So he missed time at the beginning of the season due to that. To his credit, Horwitz's year wasn't terrible. He had coming into today, he had a 273 average, 789 OPS, 11 home runs. Like, those aren't bad numbers, but when your offense is terrible, you need more than that out of a first baseman. That's like discount Colin Moran. Like, and Tommy Pham had a decent stretch in the middle of the, between like June and August. But Tommy Pham's final numbers coming in today, a 697 OPS, 244 average, 10 home runs. Like, again, you need more than that when your offense was pathetic coming into the year. And then Adam Frazier got traded for nothing, but he was crappy when he was here, so I don't really mind trading him, but they should have acquired him. Adam Frazier was here for 78 games, had a 654 OPS. Like, this was a bad offense, and you needed offensive production to be added to it. And what happened? That's all you added. So, predictably, you lost a bunch of games 2-1. Your pitchers would go out there, pitch well, but then, oh well, the offense didn't show up. We got 3 hits tonight, and you lose. And then to add insult to injury, so in addition to like, they didn't add anybody, and that clearly showed. The few guys you kind of were hoping to deliver offense didn't even do that. Like O'Neal Cruz, Brian Reynolds both had back. Reynolds' year I would describe as below his average. O'Neal Cruz's year I would describe as bad. O'Neal Cruz coming into today had a 200 batting average, 677 OPS. He finished in 20 home runs. Reynolds 244 average, 716 OPS, 16 home runs. Like, if those are supposed to be the 2 best hitters on your team, that's pathetic. Andrew McCutchen, who is getting up there in age, will be 39 in a couple weeks. I mean, he had the worst of his 3 years in this latter part of his career with the Pirates. He had 13 home runs. OPS finishes at 700. You know, that was below the last couple of years. You weren't expecting a lot out of him. I'd say this was slightly below what you expected out of him, but like he wasn't really the problem. One of the problems though was early in the year, and you noticed a big change when they did fire Derek Shelton 38 games into the year, that it seemed like before Shelton was fired, Kutch would sit 2 times a week because the guy needs to rest so much despite being a DH. And then after Kelly took over as the manager, it seemed like Kutch was playing a lot more, and Kutch ended up playing in 135 games, which I believe, let me see here. Yeah, that's the most he's played in any of the 3 years, you know, since he's been back in Pittsburgh. Last year he only played in 120. The year before that he played in 112. So you got some more at bats, which is good. But it's just like, when I look at like their offense, there's not a single bright spot in this offense moving forward. Maybe you could call Spencer Horwitz that, but the guy couldn't have an 800 OPS. I'm not saying he's bad, but like, if the guy that says, oh my God, that's our offensive spark plug, is a guy with 789 OPS, that tells you that the general manager doesn't know how to acquire offensive talent. There's like so much wrong with this team that a billion other people have said, but you know, bears repeating. It's just, one thing I did want to point out, and I've been very annoyed recently. There's a narrative that I've seen a bunch of times lately that people are like, hey, the team played better under Derek Shelton, under Don Kelly after Derek Shelton was fired. The Pirates' winning percentage under Don Kelly was, they went 59-65, which is a 475 winning percentage. First of all, that's a losing record. That's not good. But you know what that works out to over, you know what kind of pace that is? That's a 77 win pace. They were bad the last 2 years and won 76 games. Don Kelly managing at a 77 win pace is technically an improvement, but it isn't good. Why is there this narrative? Oh man, look at they got positive momentum because they under Don Kelly. I'm like, they only are by definition better under Kelly because they were so crappy before he got there. If they fire Don Kelly, I'm not going to be upset. I'm not. There's 45 other problems before him, but I don't. The idea that, oh man, look how well he played under him, it's just speaking to how low the standards are here. Derek Shelton did deserve to get fired, by the way. He deserved to get fired before this season. But anyway, moving forward, you know, the pitching's good. The pitching is good, and if they had hitting, this team could be a playoff contender. But you need to do something to add offense to this team, and it's just like, I don't even know where you start. Like, there's so many positions where it's like they need somebody there. Like, you look at this lineup, and it's just like, catcher, they had no production out of catcher this year between Davis and Bart. Davis, by the way, is looking like a huge flop, huge bust. I mean, yay, his defense is great, but he also hit 167. Nick Gonzalez, who I recently was talking with some friends, I think Nick Gonzalez is the best hitter that Ben Cherington has developed, and Nick Gonzalez had a 668 OPS. Like, we need better than that. Yeah, and I'm like, there's nobody offensively makes you say, man, look at that. That's good. That's something to hold on to. So that's why they need to acquire at least like 3 hitters, not guys that had one good year 4 years ago. Yeah, I don't know. So, do I think Cherington will get fired? I don't know. It's kind of hard to predict because, like, they don't operate under the same logic that most organizations operate under. Which makes it just hard to predict. It's like, does he deserve to get fired? Yeah. In like most cities, would I count on him getting fired? Yeah. But Pittsburgh is different. I mean, the one indication that would lead me to believe that he could get fired is that they fired Derek Shelton. So that like indicated, oh yeah, we're doing terribly, so we need to do something about it. So there's a cause and effect relationship there. So, and maybe they were like, well, GM is kind of different than manager. You got to keep the guy for the rest of the year. So perhaps that's that. I don't know. Point is, they went 71-91 because their GM didn't bother acquiring any decent offensive talent over the offseason. And it's annoying when a team is bad in a way that was unpredictable. It's maddening when a team is bad in a way that was entirely predictable. And that is the story of the 2025 Pittsburgh Pirates. Have a good one.